Hey y'all, welcome to the Unearth with Shelly Hughes podcast. I'm Shelly Hughes, and in this podcast episode, we're going to talk about the reason that you're stuck in your business. I can guarantee you, your business isn't stuck because of your competition. It's because you're distracted. And I really want to break that down of what that means today. So in this podcast, we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of running a passionate, profitable business. We talk about the wins, the losses, celebrations, and huge milestones of what it takes to really build a profitable, passionate brand. And one thing I want to talk about today is that I don't see very many people doing at all. And I can guarantee you, if you're able to commit to what we're going to talk about, you are going to be able to see huge improvements in not just your business growth, but the kind of clients that or customers you want to work with, and really diving deep into your ideal audience. As many small business owners do, they create content, they launch offers, they pivot, they get on client calls, they get on discovery calls, but they're still not growing. And really the truth, it's not because you have a bad product necessarily, which you might, so check on that real quick, but really it's that you are not focused. And I talk about the 5 1s a lot with clients, especially when they're really distracted. I chatted with a now good friend of mine, Sean Hand. He's from the Awkward Networker. He's amazing. And I was talking to him about this concept of the 5 1s. And he was really intrigued by it because I think as business owners, especially if you're technically a startup, right, you say yes to a lot of things. And when a business really becomes successful is when they can have uber laser focus, at least for a little bit, and then they're able to grow. So if I were to launch a product, for example, I would choose, instead of launching a product, this product could be for moms, right? There's a whole lot of moms out there. So instead of being really broad when you're first starting, or even when you have been around for a while, but you're not seeing the growth that you wanted, think of these 5 1s. And I guarantee you it's going to make a huge difference in your business. So let's talk about these. These are really the anchors that turn this chaotic mind the entrepreneurs have into clarity. The first one is, what is the one audience you can serve in the deepest way? I like to think of the audience first. We don't build products just to build products. We build products for people. So it's really identifying that audience first. One problem you solve, and ideally this would be a single word or maybe a phrase. One solution that you offer, ideally in one sentence. And then one platform where your content is made for that platform. And then you commit to all of it for 1 year. And I get it. It's hard. I think it's really challenging and scary, honestly, for an entrepreneur or business owner to be so focused and so niche down. It takes discipline. You wonder always, what are you leaving on the table? And you feel like you're saying no to opportunities. But I truly believe the more you say no, the more you're able to say yes with more traction. And here's the thing. When I say this, I preface it by saying you're not necessarily going to say no to a nice big chunk of money if you really need it, right? You have to realize that if you say yes to an opportunity that might not be aligned with these 5 1s, it's going to take your time away from really the work that you're trying to focus on. However, I'm not going to tell you to not take a big contract. What I might tell you though, in this year, as you're trying to explore these 5 1s, maybe you just don't broadcast that project. If it's not something you want to work on in the long term, I'm not going to tell you to say no to things, but I kind of am, to make sure you're using your time in a focused way. But you might just not want to promote that you're doing it, because then it will attract more businesses and more projects like that. But here's what I am saying. You can't be everything to everyone, or else you're nothing to no one. And so you have to start with that one audience, because a product becomes powerful when there's a person in mind to be the end user, instead of just making a product for the general public, because then you'll be able to morph it or design it or add colors, or especially when you get into branding and marketing, you're going to be able to market specifically to that audience. And here's the thing, like I said, if I were to launch a product, I would choose an audience that might be underserved and that has a really important problem that I think I can solve. I would create one product maybe it's an e-commerce site, launch the e-commerce site, build, ads, everything I need to build around this one product and this one audience. And then from there, just add on products, right? So you already are getting that affirmation that yes, this product is working. Once you get the affirmation from this one audience, you can build on products. You can build from this. But I think the 1 year, that commitment is going to be super key here. So most businesses don't do this. And the reason they don't do this is because it's freaking hard. But I want to go through how you can incorporate this into your business, because if you do this and make this a part of your business, I'm telling you, it works. So let's talk about that one audience, and you have to be ruthlessly specific about this person. So, for example, I don't want to just say moms, right? Or I don't even want to just say working moms as my audience. If I'm trying to identify a target audience that is underserved, I don't want to just say working moms. I want to say something like working moms who live in Charleston who want to quit their jobs for freelance, right? So like that is how niche I'm really trying to get. And growing granular feels so risky, but it leads to deeper trust. It leads to your branding just being so on point, your messaging being so on point, and it leads to faster conversions. And honestly, it leads to easier marketing because you know exactly the point of view or the points you have to hit over and over and over again for this to work. So what I like to think of is, can you describe your ideal client so specifically so that I would know them if I were to bump into them in a grocery store, right? If you can describe someone like that to me and I'd be like, oh, I know exactly who that is, and I run into them, I could identify them right there. So just think about like which audience segment is being ignored right now, right? Who is struggling silently but isn't being spoken to? And who would breathe a sigh of relief when they finally have heard your message? So as an example, let's just say I'm realizing that moms at the beach are completely ignored, right? And if I'm going to build a product, I'm not just going to build a product for beach goers, right? I'm going to build a product for moms at the beach, okay? So we'll have that kind of be our example. As we go into the second one, it's the one problem. And usually this is one word or maybe a phrase, right? So what is the one thing your ideal audience struggles with all the time? What is the one word of the problem that you're solving? So sandy sandwiches, time, confidence, revenue, whatever it is. And then most businesses at this point, they offer 10 different solutions to 10 different people who have 10 different problems. But that's really the problem, right? So it's getting really, really clear on, okay, exactly who is this audience? And then what is the one problem that they have that really your product can solve? And let's just say, okay, if in this example, our audience is moms at the beach, maybe the problem that she has are sandy sandwiches, right? We know it inside and out. It's super annoying. You can't just, I know if you have sandy hands, you can put baby powder on them and the sand comes off. You can't really do that to sandwiches. Okay, so this is a real problem. Going to the one solution, this is about solving the problem really with precision. You don't need 12 services. You need one clear vehicle that solves the core problem that this audience has. People don't buy complexities, they buy outcomes. And so show how one focused solution can scale much bigger than 5 half-baked ones, especially when you first launch. When you first launch whatever business is, and maybe you already have a business, but you really just have to narrow down, really get clear on that one solution. And so, for example, start with that one product, start with that one offer, really nail it, and then you'll be able to build on those products for the exact same audience because you've already gained their trust. So in our example, okay, our one audience is moms at the beach. Our one problem in a word or a phrase is sandy sandwiches. And so our one solution could be the ultimate sandy sandwich spray, right? It solves the problem for moms at the beach, a specific audience, a specific problem, and a specific solution. And then what you want to do, number 5, you want to dominate through one channel. It's important to stop being kind of visible everywhere. You're putting a ton of content out there and it's not really intentional, or you're not building content for a single channel and building content that the channel really likes, right? So if you think that that moms that go to the beach are on YouTube, you would want to build more kind of longer form content, of course. Doesn't mean you can't repurpose that content for, social media clips or YouTube shorts or anything like that. But you really want to have that one platform and build your content to play to that platform, and choose a platform that your audience is on. So where you can consistently show up. So you have to understand what their current behavior is so you can align with whatever that is. And, if it's Instagram, you want to use all the tools like stories, reels, lives, obviously regular posts. You want to engage on that platform too. So you don't want, if I'm selling to moms that go to the beach that have the problem of sandy sandwiches and I have a solution for them, I know that they are on Instagram, for example. I'm not going to be on TikTok all the time doing TikTok dances if I know that's not going to be the focus. I might repurpose stuff over on TikTok, reels and things like that, but each platform has a very different rule set. And so you want to be so ingrained in a singular platform and be so good at their rule set that if you have extra, awesome, you can go to different platforms, but that is your main. So I'm not engaging over on TikTok and LinkedIn and YouTube and Instagram. I'm going deep and going deep instead of broad with this. So in this case, it would be moms. I know this mom is on Instagram, so I'm going to be posting stories every day. I'm going to be engaging. I'm going to be following mainly on Instagram. And here's the thing. We have to do this all for 1 year. You have to give it time, but you have to give it enough time for it to work, but an end point so you can add on. So you're not going to be a one product wonder for your entire business, right? You need to focus in on at least 1 year to really set yourself up for success so that you would be able to add on a product suite for the same client or the same audience. Really, it takes grit, it takes commitment, it takes discipline, but it's really the fastest way to grow with clarity. So it's one audience, one problem, one solution, one platform for 1 year. And most people, it's so interesting. I see a lot of people pivoting in their business. And I think it's very easy to say, oh, that's not working, I'm going to go over here. Oh, that didn't work, I'm going to go over here. But I guarantee you, if you can identify that audience that is being ignored and you are able to hyper target them with a product that is going to talk directly to them, your marketing is going to be easier. And I guarantee it's going to be at least $1 million business if you started from scratch within a year. So I think simplification in business, especially as you're either reorganizing or retooling or you're trying to solve a problem, is so valuable, right? Because it allows, Essentialism by Greg McKeown, we talked about in a past podcast episode. It's keep the main thing, right? And kind of get rid of all that distraction. It's a something we should all really, have a focus on. So I challenge you to name your 5 ones this week. Kind of take some time and see, okay, maybe I'm talking to 5 different audiences. Which one is being the most ignored in the overall industry, right? And then how can you differentiate your product or even change your product a little bit to focus really on them? And here's a reminder, growth doesn't come from doing more. Growth comes from being really, really granular and being able to go deep. And then once you have that consistency, that's when you're able to go broad. So really, I hope that this was helpful, especially if you're kind of stuck or you're plateauing in business. If you appreciated this episode, I would love to hear about it. I would love to hear, does this sound scary? Is this something that you've done before? Is this something you found success in? I've seen a lot of success in it with clients of ours. But of course, rate, review, it really helps us get in front of different people. Please follow the podcast. It helps us understand what episodes are doing really speaking to you so you can do more of those. But I appreciate your time and we'll see you next week.